Hi, I don't like goodbyes. How about you? It's really hard to let someone go, especially when you don't want to. But when we try to move on and get with someone new, that's where the old relationship can start to creep in and cause problems in this new relationship. My name's Olivia. I am passionate about helping you understand what relational trauma is so that you can overcome it and ultimately move on with your life. So today is all about asking the question of, do I have to really let this person go? Do I really have to shut this book and say goodbye? Or can I just move on? Saying goodbye is really difficult for many of us. A lot of times we're not very good at goodbyes. We don't really know how to say goodbye. And there's something that feels so final about having the courage to say goodbye. I feel like it takes courage to say goodbye. How about you? What do you think? All of this is going to come from I Can't Believe How Much This Hurts. I will link it in the description below. There's also a full course available that's going to be linked. So in thinking about saying goodbye, it's very painful. Please cry as much as you need to cry. Sit with it as long as you need to sit with it. It is definitely a process. And truly, it is the very last chapter of the entire book of I Can't Believe How Much This Hurts. So there's a lot of work that goes into getting to this point. And I think sometimes when a relationship ends, we think it's just a matter of saying goodbye and letting go, but really it's a process that starts way back here. And then by the time you get to the part where you're going to say goodbye, even that is a process that's going to take a bit of time. So in thinking about a wound, when you have a physical wound, if there's stages of healing. So if it's like an open sore, right, then you decide if you're going to put some salve on it, if it's going to be bandaged. Sometimes you have to let it breathe. Right? If you always keep it moist and you always keep it covered, then a lot of times it just doesn't heal. So sometimes you kind of have to get the air on it. The emotional wounds are the same. If we always cover it, if we're always protecting it, there's a really good chance it is not ever going to heal. And then we get really good at protecting it because anytime someone bumps it, it hurts. Boy, does it hurt. And that gets a behavioral response from us. So if you think of an emotional wound similar to a physical wound, saying goodbye is kind of like where we let the air get to it so it can get exposed and it can begin to heal. And that's also why it's a process. So today is all about writing a goodbye letter to your ex that you are not going to give to your ex. So in the book, I recommend, this is my book, do not send this to your ex. This is just for you. When you're done, you can bury it. You can burn it if you can safely do so. You can shred it. You can just shred it with your hands, run it through a shredder. You can scribble all over it, however you want to do it. The point is you want to get from here and here out on paper so you can look at it, process through it for yourself, reflect on it, and then get rid of it. So that's the key part of it. Not to send it to your ex, because remember, that would be emoting with your ex or a bit of emoting with your ex, and that's only going to keep you hooked and keep you stuck, and we're trying to get unstuck. So here is a list. This is found on page 29 of writing prompts that you can go through and fill in and answer. And this is going to help you get some of that goodbye closure for yourself, because remember, this is all for you. So you would say something like, Dear Ex blank. So you would put their name. You could put their name. You could just say Dear Ex. You could say Dear Ex Partner. I like to put the person's name. Not that I've been through it a million times, but whoever is writing it, I kind of feel like it's best to put their name. It's kind of really helping your brain okay, this is exactly who I'm writing this to. And here's an example of how it could start. You could start it exactly like this. You could pause the video or get the book and just copy it, or you can start it any way you want. This one starts on page 29. This is an example. I'm writing this letter to say goodbye and to let you go. With this letter, I release you from past expectations, disappointments, and hurts. Before I say goodbye, there's a few things that I'd like you to know. So that's the point, right? I'm releasing you from past expectations I had, from past disappointments I went through with you, and the hurts that I had with you. So usually, you have those expectations, you have had disappointments, chances are, especially if the relationship's over, and there's probably some hurt that's going to go with that somewhere. So here is a first sentence, and this is where the writing prompt comes into play. So this is the beginning, and then you would fill in the last part with anything you want to fill in. And remember, This is just for you, and you're going to destroy the letter when you're done. So write as honest and as real and raw as you can. Okay, so here's the first one. I was hurt because. So this is where you're going to write all about your hurt. Any way that you were hurt, what hurting now, hurting in the process, bigger hurts, lesser hurts. You're going to write as much about the hurt as you can. And the more you can write and get out, the better. The next one, I was sad because. So any of this sadness, right? I was sad because I felt like you don't want to spend time with me. Or I was sad because you never believed I loved you like I said I loved you. Or I was sad because you chose someone over me. Whatever the sadness is from, there is no right or wrong answer. Whatever it was that made you sad and is making you sad, that's what you want to write about in this letter. The next one, I was disappointed because. So you're going to write as much about that disappointment as you can just get out on paper. I was angry because. So now we're moving on like from some of that sadness and disappointment to the anger. So anger is a natural response to a boundary being crossed. So chances are if you're writing about the anger, really a key tip is to look for where were the boundaries crossed as you see it. And so that might help you to get that out a bit more clearly as far as what you're angry about. So where, as you see it, where the boundaries crossed. So boundaries would be, I asked you to respect my time and you were always late. So maybe sometimes the anger is towards ourselves. I'm angry that I put up with it for so long, or I'm angry that I believed you. Whatever the answer is, again, there's no right or wrong answer. The next one, I was humiliated because. So what were the parts of you that were humiliated? And you can write about that, right? Sometimes the humiliation comes after the breakup, right? I was humiliated to have to tell everyone the truth of what was happening, or I was humiliated that I had to lie all those times to cover for you or to cover for myself. Again, any humiliation, just try to be as honest with yourself as you can. And then it kind of moves, it shifts. So then it talks about you taught me, right? What did you teach me? Because whether there was like terrible things and that's where you learned from, but sometimes because you're with another person, they can actually teach you something that's helpful for your life. So maybe there is a benefit that you learned just from being with this person. Maybe they were really outdoorsy and you weren't. So maybe they taught you how fun hiking is. Maybe they taught you how fun painting is, or how great books are, right? Maybe they taught you how to budget better. Anything that they could have taught you. And maybe it's like, you taught me what I really want from someone, or you taught me how strong I am. So it could be any run of the spectrum. Just try and thinking, what did you learn from this person? And again, it doesn't have to be from something bad, but it could have been. Next one, I thought. This is really kind of an interesting one because we don't really think about what we're thinking, right? In psychology, that's called metacognition, thinking about what you're thinking about. It's kind of like being mindful. So what were you thinking? What was it that you thought? It's kind of a weird one, but it usually pulls out something different, or it's like it visits a different part of your brain and kind of forces you to look at it, which is helpful, or I should say it helps you to look at it. I hoped. What were you hoping? Again, you can see how this is kind of, pretty painful. I'll give you a couple more. I will miss. What are you going to miss? And maybe it's nothing. Maybe you're going to say, I will miss nothing. Or maybe you'll say, I'll miss the way you treated me when you were treating me good. And you could write those good things, because very few relationships are all good or all bad. Certainly that does exist. So I'm not saying that's not impossible, but a lot of times there was some good and there was also some bad. And it's usually the good that makes it hard to let go, and it's the bad that makes it impossible to stay. So thinking about the good, because we're trying to pull all of this out and be as honest with ourselves. And maybe that's the truth, that there are some things you're going to miss. And you know what? That's okay. You're allowed to acknowledge that and to miss it, even if there were clearly loud things that were wrong that happened. I forgive you for. If there are things you want to forgive that person so you can unhook yourself and move on with your life, what do you want to forgive them for? I'm sorry for. Maybe there's things that you're sorry for, stuff that you did, shortcomings that you had. Chances are that's true for all of us. So at the end, you know, this one ends, and again, there are a few more, and this is on 29 and 30 of I Can't Believe How Much This Hurts. But this letter ends with, I'm hopeful for a better future for us both. I'm going to move on now. I'm committed to myself and to living, and I'm no longer committed to you or to this relationship. Take care, and you sign your name. Ow! In a way, it's super painful, but the hope is by the time you go through all of those writing prompts, it gets you closer to be able to say, you know, I'm hoping for a better future, and I'm not committed to you, and I'm not committed to the relationship. I'm committed to myself, and I'm committed to my future. That's what I'm committed to. And then, you know, take care, but I'm moving on. So all of this comes from I Can't Believe How Much This Hurts. You can find it on Amazon.com. I'm wishing you all the best. Again, I can't say it enough times. Don't send that letter to your ex. That is not what I'm saying to do. In fact, I'm saying do not do that. Get rid of it, destroy it, and try to keep taking a step forward. So take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.